Hey guys, Gabe here from Team Genius Customer Success. Today I'm going to walk you through scoring athletes in our web evaluation tool. So let's get to it. First, you're going to go to eval.teamgenius.com. You're going to come to the site that looks exactly like this. You're going to put in your name, email address, and the access key that the organization gave you. So I've got my access key here. I'm going to click sign in. This is going to bring me to different evaluation sessions if you have them set up. So for example, day 1 or game 1, 2 or 3, you may come in here and only have one option to score on the day that you're doing either tryouts or your in-season evaluations. In this example, I'm going to click on day 1. And I've got my different player pools or levels here that I've got access to score. So in this example, I'm going to go into my 2021 Red U15 player pool. I can see my different players in here. I'm going to filter first, so I can click on a filter and I can filter by different evaluation groups. So I'm going to click on red and I'm going to filter just my red players. Now I'm going to select all of them at once by clicking on this select all at the very top and then go to scoring. Go to scoring, I'm going to go into my skills. I'm going to click on skills and I'll be able to go in and score some players on skills. So scoring in here is going to be really just moving this little slider over to put in that score on any of these different criteria. You can see that it's going to auto save. You see the green check mark, that means that this is saving. There is no submit after you put in the scores. These are going to auto save and then they'll sync back to the organization that you're evaluating your players within. You can also delete your score by clicking on that little delete. That will delete the score so that it doesn't count. And if you click on one of these comments boxes in any one of these scoring criteria, you can either drop in pre-canned comments if the organization has set those, or you can type in comments with your keyboard. If you want to evaluate different players, you can go over to the left-hand side and select a different player you want to evaluate. We also have a criteria view. This would let you see a view of stational positions or stational criteria that you want to score your players based on. So we can go in here and then score the players. You can see again auto-saving as soon as I move that. And then you can see percentages left to evaluate all of my players either by that stational criteria setup or by my individual players by clicking back on that. So I can go and jump to a different player. Maybe that's a player I want to put in some scores on. Put in scores on those players. There's also the option to score in a drop-down fashion. So this would be an example of the drop-down fashion of scoring. Or button group, so for attitude down here. So you can see that example by clicking on great. We also have a different style of scoring form. It's going to be our drill style, or in our terminology, our quantitative style scoring. So example would be a 40-yard dash. You can either type in a time. If you've preset a time in a different style of entry, so for example, if you're using a gated metric system or an external stopwatch, I can also click on the stopwatch, hit start, stop, and save. And this would be the exact same way that you would score inside of Team Genius if you're using our stopwatch tool. For example, a broad jump, you're going to see feet and inches that you can score your players in, or something that's metrics based like jumping jacks. You could say put in 56 or whatever numerical value represents that. You can also put in an overall comment on this scoring form on how that player is scored. So you can jump between the different forms. Imagine them like pieces of paper you're scoring the players on in this top menu in the upper left. You can also move up to your upper right, and you have some options to see instructions if the organization put in instructions. Reload the assessment if you think there was more data brought in, possibly more players since you started scoring players in Team Genius. There's help in the lower right-hand corner. If you click on that help, that's going to get you to help topics related to the scoring you're doing in Team Genius. And then of course the upper left, you're going to be able to click on back to go back to score either a different grouping of players or level of players, as well as you're going to be able to go back into a previous session or move to a different session. In this view, it's a good example of how you can also see filter by position. So I could actually filter by position and evaluation grouping. So maybe I'm a coach that's going to evaluate just my forwards, and then maybe I'm also going to be looking at just the red forward. So I can apply those filters, select maybe just one of the players because this is the one I want to score. Go to scoring, put some scores in on skills. So I clicked on skills and I can go in and then see scores that I had previously put in on that player since I had already scored this player, or go in and then change those scores if I feel they should have scored differently. If you had taken down scores on, say, a sheet of paper or wanted to put in a tabular entry, we also support that. So if you click on upper right, scoring grid, you'll easily be able to see a way that you could put in scores in a grid view versus the scoring controls, which are going to be the sliders or drop downs. This has been Gabe from Team Genius Customer Success. Thanks for evaluating, and let us know if you have any questions.